Hi there, so this video is on the subject of shamanism. This should be a pretty fascinating one. So I was a religious studies major in college. I graduated from Humboldt State University in Northern California in 2002. And for my senior thesis, then I studied the Tuvan religion. And for anyone who's seen the movie Genghis Blues, which is a documentary that I think won Best Documentary, or at least it was nominated in, I think, 1998, then it follows the story of a blind blues musician, Paul Pena, who wrote the song Big Ol' Jet Airliner for the Steve Miller Band, which became a big hit in the 70s. But he was a blues musician doing his own thing for several decades. And he discovered Tuvan throat singing just by chance, hearing it on the radio, and chose to learn it, this style of singing himself, somehow in the country of Tuva, which is actually part of Russia, but it's sandwiched between Mongolia and Russia in its own sort of private valley. Then somehow they got wind of this American blues musician in San Francisco who was learning throat singing, and so they invited him to come participate in the contest that they have there, the throat singing contest they have every few years. And so this documentary follows his journey to Tuva and then his participating in this throat singing contest. And so I love this movie, and the soundtrack is really amazing. You can search around on YouTube for Paul Pena, Center of Asia. That's a great song from the movie that will give you a good little hint of what it's about. So I'm sort of rambling off on a tangent here, but that movie got me interested in the Tuvan religion, and so I ended up doing my senior thesis on the Tuvan religion, which is a mix of Buddhism and indigenous shamanism. Now, I do not, however, think that those intellectual studies qualifies me to talk about shamanism. Instead, I'm going to be talking about shamanism based on my own personal subjective experiences. And that is a very important thing to understand, that shamanism is not about reading about something in books. You can, obviously learn a surface understanding of the rituals and the practices and the beliefs that are centered around shamanism. Shamanism is practiced around the world by many different cultures, or at least it was in the past, and still is by a few. But shamanism is not an intellectual pursuit. Shamanism is the experimentation with, or even experimentation is not the correct word, seeking altered states of consciousness, as I understand it. And so in this video I'm just expressing my own understanding based in part on various research and learning from others, but more based on my own personal experiences and explorations of consciousness and altered states of consciousness. I have a playlist on my main channel page for anyone who's interested to go a little bit deeper and discover some ways to bring about altered states of consciousness. So just look for that playlist on my main channel page. There are many different ways of bringing about altered states of consciousness. And ultimately, shamanism is about bringing about these states of being for the sake of understanding the nature of reality and of consciousness and the multidimensional nature of the universe. The fact that there are other realms beyond the physical, and that we can access those other realms and explore and learn from them and bring those other realms into this reality. And that is a important understanding that many people are coming to understanding of at this time, which is the concept of multidimensionality, that there are many layers to reality, that the dense physical world that we see around us here on Earth is just one plane of existence, one dimension, and that there are many other dimensions, and that our consciousness is not confined to our brain. Our consciousness is not just something that's a byproduct of, our brain and our physical body and stuck here in our head. Our consciousness actually exists on these multiple layers of reality, and through various practices, we can come to a greater awareness of that. And we can explore these other realities and bring those realities into greater awareness within our consciousness, and in so doing, bring those other realities here to Earth. And that is a very important practice to be undertaken at this time, is taking away that separation between spirit and body, so that our perception is not so locked into a third-dimensional survivalist, as Graham Hancock calls it, the alert problem solver state of consciousness, which is, here we are in a third-dimensional reality. We have to eat, we have to keep our bodies warm, we have to live in a structure of some kind. In order to accomplish those things, we have to have a job and do this job successfully in order to, make money as it is in our current reality, and thus meet our basic needs. That has been sort of the predominant level of consciousness approach to reality for humans for a long time. And this is an extremely limited view of reality, and there is much to be accessed beyond that level of consciousness that will greatly enhance our state of being, and that will reunite us with these other realms of consciousness and bring us into a whole nother state of being that can completely transform how we experience life, and ourselves and our own consciousness and our relationships and our relationship with the physical realm, and bring about a greater ease, in fact, of manifesting that which we desire in our lives by expanding our awareness, broadening our viewpoint, so that we are working with reality in a more dynamic way, rather than, just chop wood and carry water, even though that has its spiritual, practicalities. But rather than approaching the physical reality as there's a bunch of material stuff here that we have to work with somehow in order to satisfy our basic needs, recognizing other, realms, other dimensions, and accessing the energy that is available to us within those other realms, in order to bring about greater personal power and a different approach to reality than one that is so linear and focused on the physical. So that's just kind of a broad overview. Now, how to bring about these altered states of consciousness, there are lots of different ways to do this, and that's what I talk about in the playlist on my main channel page. The most well-known would be to make use of various mind-altering substances, psychedelics, ayahuasca, DMT, LSD, mushrooms, marijuana, which manage to alter your state of consciousness through, manipulating your brain and widening your perception of reality, and can be extremely effective in, opening your mind up to these spiritual realms and